Hello everyone, welcome to this edition of the Primetime Newscast on Équinoxe Television, live from our headquarters in Cameroon's economic capital, Douala. I am Babli Jonathan. In our top stories in this edition of the news: teachers, government school teachers across the Republic of Cameroon embarked on a second week out of classrooms, and analysts are raising concerns about the consequences of the teachers' strike over poor working conditions on the performance of students, especially those preparing for official examinations. And the national president of the Cameroon People's Party, the CPP, Kabanwala Edith, member of Stand Up for Cameroon Civil Society platform, says she's in full solidarity with the teachers who she says are treated very poorly by the government, and the teachers have maintained their strike action despite efforts of government to coil down that strike action by teachers across the Republic. And also in this newscast, we will talk about Cameroonians who are trapped in the Russian invasion of Ukraine, many of them now hoping and struggling to cross over to Poland. In the meantime, the UN Security Council is holding another emergency meeting on that problem. Stay with us. Land, which is supposed to be a source of blessing for the people, has become a source of crisis, conflict, violence in the Republic of Cameroon. Land quarrels are raising concerns almost everywhere across the Republic of Cameroon. We now take you to a case in point in this newscast, the Yatiko neighborhood on the outskirts of Cameroon's economic capital, Douala, where there is tension over a land quarrel between some indigents of the area, a vast majority of them who are being threatened by forceful eviction, and an individual who is claiming ownership of a vast portion of land occupied by the people. Details in this report.
It's a tense atmosphere that reigns in a small village known as Yachika in Yassa, Douala 3 subdivision. A land dispute between Reverend Sisters of the Catholic Church and villagers is the main bone of contention. According to the lawyer handling the case, the 5 hectares of land offered to the church years back was done with conditions which are not respected by the sisters.
Les sœurs sont arrivées dans ce village.
When the sisters arrived here, we offered them 5 hectares of land so they could build hospitals, a church, and a school. But the agreement was that the villagers will be part of the construction project, with some others employed by the church. But immediately they started the project, but we noticed that no villager was part of the project.
Elles sont parties fabriquer un faux titre foncier.
Without being able to come to an agreement, both parties appeared before the court of first instance in Ndokoti.
Demander devant les tribunaux l'arrêt des travaux.
The magistrate of the Ndokoti court of first instance passed his judgment in our favor. The land titled presented by the sisters in court was declared null and void, but the decision is not respected by the church as they have refused to halt the ongoing construction project.
Ne se sont pas arrêtés.
Frustrated after the announcement of a planned demolition process on the 5 hectares of land, the villagers assembled in front of the Yachika Fonds Palace to express their discontentment. The sisters planned demolishing our houses. When we arrived to Yachika years back, they encouraged us to build on the site. Now they are the same persons telling us to evacuate. We helped develop this area, and this is how we are being paid. The problem is further complicated by the fact that the church has received the go-ahead from the Ministry of Territorial Administration. Security personnel have equally been stationed on the site in order to ensure the smooth involvement of the construction project. All efforts made to get in contact with the head of the convent were all fruitless.
The moral person involved in that land quarrel in Yatika is the Roman Catholic Church, and the tension over there is yet to go down as the people continue pressing to maintain their grip on the land which they say belongs to them. And now to another issue that is also raising eyebrows and tensions in the Republic of Cameroon: underdevelopment. underdevelopment challenges are so many in several parts of the country, from the big cities to the hinterlands. And today we are taking you to Masumbu in the division, littoral region of the Republic of Cameroon, where the people are angry with the Yaoundé administration over underdevelopment challenges. Senazi has more.
Here in Masumbu, the population say they are deprived of basic social amenities, including potable water, passable roads, electricity, schools and hospitals. We fetch water from boreholes and streams for consumption and usage.
Un puits d'eau qui s'est gâté, ça se gâte régulièrement. Il n'y a pas la possibilité pour les arranger.
We lack hospitals to cater for people who suffer mostly from waterborne diseases. We don't have schools, especially for Anglophones living here. These issues are expected to be redressed by the Development Committee members installed by the chief of this village, a task that must be accomplished. As president of the Development Committee and as executives, we will assemble all sons and daughters of Masumbu in and out of the country for development of our village. First, we will strategize on how to gather ideas and resources to develop Masumbu. According to local authorities, the most essential tool to come out of this underdevelopment is a good organization. Promoting fishing and agriculture will greatly impact the development objectives.
Nous sommes au bord d'un grand fleuve et nous avons beaucoup de terres fertiles.
The proximity of this village to the town of Douala is believed will accelerate development of Masumbu, as the fish and agricultural produce sold in markets in Douala will fetch Masumbu enough income that will enable the Development Committee effectively carry out its projects.
Government school teachers embarked on the second week of a strike action. They've been out of the classrooms for over 10 days now. They are decrying the slow pace of their integration and other administrative flaws, notably in their career growth or progress. And of course, observers are saying that this could have a significant adverse impact on the performance of students, especially those preparing for official examinations and even competitive entrance examinations. And the teachers have maintained that they will press forward until they have answers to their plight. And for over 10 days now, the strike action has paralyzed academic activities in several secondary and high schools across the Republic of Cameroon. Malaglore reports.
In a mad rush to get home, these students of Government Technical High School Kumasi forced the gates of the school campus to the extent of beating the guard on duty. According to the students, they have been idling since they got to school Monday morning, February 28, 2022. This is following a strike action taken by the teachers of Cameroon for over 2 weeks. The strike action got intensified in most government schools in the city of Douala. These teachers asked a full payment of their salary.
We have colleagues that are working for more than 12 years. We have our incentive. We don't even have incentive. We don't have it. We are not well paid. We are treated badly. We are treated poorly.
And I've been teaching for 5 years, and I've never received my full salary. As you can see on this paper, this is what I receive from my salary.
In Government Bilingual High School Bepanda was the same scenario. All the students out of their classrooms gathered around their teachers, who had on pieces of papers different information calling on the government to ameliorate their working condition.
Okay, teachers decided to go on strike, just like all the other teachers around Cameroon, because of so many bad working conditions. Especially our salaries are not up to what we are supposed to gain. As you know, all of you pass through teachers to become whosoever you are. Whether you are a minister, a president, whosoever you are, you pass through teachers. But the salary we get is nothing.
Students on their part urge the authorities to act immediately so they can attend classes normally and better prepare for their upcoming exams.
L'examen c'est dans 3 mois. Dans 3 mois on va composer. On est là. Déjà à partir après le 20 mai, c'est déjà les évaluations. Où sont nos enseignants pour nous fortifier?
Teachers are the backbone of the society, role models to the children, and give young people the power of education. Their working condition, just like any other sector in the society, needs to be respected in order to produce positive results and better educate the children.
Political leader Kaban Wala Ejid, national president of the Cameroon People's Party, the CPP, and member of Stand Up for Cameroon Civil Society platform, expresses full solidarity with the teachers, condemning the poor treatment by the government. Take a listen to her. She spoke to La Verite en Face.
I was in primary school. Cameroon had one of the best education systems in Africa. It was appreciated worldwide. What is the case today? Children who study in the Cameroonian system, they go even to South Africa, not to talk of outside the continent of Africa. They have to prove equivalency upon equivalency. They have to take tests to show that they have the level, and so on and so forth. Our education system is in shambles. I am an employer. My company is 27 years old. Over the 27 years, I have watched the quality of students coming out of Cameroonian schools decrease with every recruitment that I have done. We are in a crisis situation where education is concerned, and that is the other message that the teachers insisted upon, is that they are sounding an alarm with regard to their working conditions. I would take a country with which we were very much in competition during the CAN, like Côte d'Ivoire. Okay. And you find that Côte d'Ivoire teachers are earning from 300,000 francs upwards. Some are earning up to 500,000 francs CFA.
Primary or secondary?
Secondary. So you see, you're not even in the ball game. And Côte d'Ivoire is not one of the best education systems on the continent. We cannot compare ourselves to places like South Africa. Zimbabwe has an excellent educational system. So we are finding ourselves in Africa continuously losing ground.
And the consequences of the poor treatment of teachers and other loopholes in the educational system in the Republic of Cameroon is seen on the job market, with many students graduating from higher institutions of learning with high qualifications but finding it quite difficult and even impossible to an extent to get a job in the country, or better still, a decent job. And this situation has provoked a Cameroonian known as Richard Eta Ayoki, a fellow chartered certified accountant who is bearing a project intended to bring a revolution, a digital transformation, an employment revolution in the country in order to close the gap between training in higher institutions of learning and exigencies of the job market. Take a listen.
Training that is offered is in these higher institutions is purely academic. It is not tailored towards doing, actual job execution, what is actually practiced now on the world stage. So our curriculum is more and more in theories, teaching theories and how things work, but not showing people practically how they should do things and to achieve results. I think that's the main issue which happens. So people are well educated, they know a lot of theory, but they don't know practice. They don't know how to do, because the key thing in job is what can you do. That's a key question. So our curriculum
the qualifications come later after that question.
Yes.
What can you do?
Yes. So if you have had your degree, you need to have an add-on. An add-on means you have some extra training which gives you certification that will enable you to do something according to that training, because that training enables you, it teaches you what to do, and at that time you are capable of saying that, oh, I can do this, I can do that. A student who does accounting in the university, yes, he has done accounting in theory. He is not an accountant yet. If he goes and studies a certification like ACCA or any diploma in ACCA, which gives you hands-on training, then he can now confidently say, I can do this type of work in a company. I can practice. I can actually do this in a company, and it will add value. For example, you have to do financial analysis to interpret financial statements and tell your bosses where the company is going practically, because you have done the practical training and you understand specifically what is happening in industry, instead of looking at it from the perspective of the theory.
That Eta Ayuk, President and Chief Executive Officer of the Stride, was speaking to the Inside over the weekend. He emphasized on the importance of getting international certifications. This is what he says will propel many from the jobless states to a position where they are demanded by almost all companies around needing their services. Take a listen to what he says about the importance of getting international certifications.
Certification programs that we have brought are the certification programs that will enable you to work in a company, and you add value to that company. International certification, like all of us know, it means that you can go to anywhere with that same certification. You are equivalent to everybody around the globe. The programs that we are bringing is the programs that once you get the certification, you go to Australia, you have any other person who has the same qualification, the certification is the same like you. You go to France, you'll be recognized. You go to any country, it's the same. If you have a Microsoft certification, it's a Microsoft certification. If you have an AWS certification, it's an AWS certification. It's the same wherever you are. Even parents who think that their children should go overseas, instead of sending their child to go overseas and study and start doing that, if he has a degree and he has a higher ambition, you give him 3 months, 6 months training in Cameroon, in one of these certifications. On arrival in the US, in France, in Britain, in Australia, on arrival, you have a job, because he has that certification that is internationally recognized and is in demand. For you to do the courses is available for everyone who can read and write, and is versatile with the computer. But I will add that it is important to have a broader base of education, because if you have a first degree and you are doing a program, your mindset is also tailored in a way that it's important to
assimilate.
Your rate of assimilation and comprehension is a little bit different, and even your social skills are a little bit different. The certification programs are 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, and 1 year. So if you do any of those programs and you add the certification on what you already have, then your sellability goes more than 80%. The probability of getting a job or even developing your own strategy to create a business becomes, increased by 80%.
Go to the YouTube channel of Equinoxe Television, and in yesterday's edition of The Inside, you will have greater details on all of that. On to something else now. Kabang Wala Edit, president of the CPP, Cameroon People's Party, dismisses what she qualifies as lies of the country's Minister of Territorial Administration, Otanganji Paul, over alleged conflicts within the ranks of that political party. She was speaking to La Vérité en Face after she got victory in a case, or in a court case, with the minister over allegations of a party and over a decision earlier taken by the Minister of Territorial Administration replacing her as the president of that political party in violation of the laws governing political parties in the country, according to her. Take a listen.
Cannot even say he had a complaint from a member, because the person concerned, Mr. Titafon, had lost his membership by June. before this decision. What we now understand with hindsight, because why did this member lose his membership? Because he was making public declarations in support of the CPDM candidate, and we did not understand. He started this around January, February of 2018. We did not understand where was this coming from. We have been together with this person since 2011. Why on earth would he start making declarations to support the candidacy of Mr. Biya? Today we understand that he was already in negotiation with Mr. Atanganji by that time. So they were already trying to somehow maybe steer the party in that direction. And when he saw the very strict decision which we took, which was he lost his membership because he took an ideological line which was completely outside the ideology and the instruction of the party. So by the time he was taking that decision in July, Mr. Titafon was no longer a member of the CPP. Remember, this is 2018 elections. The elections were quite tense. And the CPP, we had declared long in March that we were not going for elections. Now, you know that we have a political weight in the Cameroonian political sphere. And he thought, if I could get this militant of the CPP, and from what we understood from their correspondence, this person made him to believe that he actually had a base within the party. So I think the idea was that he could bring this person over, and that would swing part of the party towards their objective. What we saw is that he was really dealing with an
Chief Honorable Ebony Alexander has been laid to rest in his native Mundemba town in the Indian Division Southwest region of the Republic of Cameroon, and the funeral ceremony was attended by the Cameroon Minister of Decentralization and Local Development and other dignitaries from that part of the Southwest region. Derijato Hasman.
Military honors as the Southwest region pays last respects to one of her sons, Honorable Ebony Alexander Ekule. The funeral ceremony of this senior police officer, who did not only see the birth of special branch, but also headed one of the unit as a pioneer officer, was attended by the Cameroon Minister of Decentralization and Local Development, the governor of the Southwest region, among other dignitaries. In their native town Mundemba, Indian Division of the Southwest region of Cameroon, the remains of the late traditional ruler of the Elundo chiefdom and wife, Queen Julie Bapenda Ebone, were received by the traditional rulers of the land. And on behalf of the Ebone family, Minister, Director of Cabinet at the Prime Minister's Office, Ebone Confiance, thank all for honoring the funeral ceremony of his father and mother as they journey to the world beyond.
As a very big family, we need your prayers. But for now, the family is praying for you. That all that came from far and near, that you should go back safely. Once more, thank you very much.
Born November 29, 1935, the traditional ruler of the Elundo people, one-time member of parliament from Ndian constituency, and one of those who gave their all for the creation of the administrative unit of Ndian Division, disappeared last December 2021.
In news out of the Republic of Cameroon, many Cameroonians are trapped in the war in Ukraine. Like Cyril Toko and his family, many of them are hoping to reach the Ukraine-Poland border. It is quite difficult, dangerous, and even deadly to move across international borders to neighboring countries like Poland. And earlier today, delegations of the Ukrainian government and the government of Russia had an encounter to discuss possibilities of going back to peace, putting an end to the bombardments, the killings, and the destruction going on in Ukraine, as Russia invades that country. And the United Nations Security Council is holding another emergency meeting in Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Holding in New York, the session is focusing on the developing humanitarian crisis in Ukraine. It was requested by French President Emmanuel Macron, and the UN Secretary General called for the security of vulnerable persons and the protection of humanitarian and UN workers according to international law on humanitarian access to vulnerable people and communities. He urged the international community to mobilize and support funding appeals to address the needs of all the displaced persons in the situation in Ukraine. Talking Point is up next. Our guest today, His Royal Majesty Dr. Fumuki Walters, is joining us from Bonn, Germany. He is the traditional leader of Gonuku village in the northwest region of the Republic of Cameroon. He is also a medical expert. His Royal Majesty, you're welcome.
Thank you very much, Babila, for inviting me.
All right, thank you for joining us today. And before we start talking health issues in relation to your community back home, let's find out from you. You are several miles away from home, but you're certainly aware of everything happening back home. What's the situation in your Gonuku village?
Mr. Babila, thank you for asking this question. Just before I get there, I want to send some special thanks to Shesa Silver Jubilee class. These are my classmates from Secretariat College, who went in 1985-86. And special greetings again to Professor John. That's the newly elected president of Meta Development and Cultural Association, who was installed just 2 days ago. Hope to be collaborating with him in future to bring development to our people. Getting straight to your question, I would really like to talk about the health issues that we have. We all understand that back in Cameroon, especially in the villages, the situation is a little bit more different than in the towns. Guneko is a village with about 5 to 6 health centers. I'll come back to that. But you realize that before 2016, 2017, most of these health centers were functioning. But today, because of, people would even die at home because of simple sicknesses like malaria, typhoid that we all know, not to talk of chronic diseases like diabetes and hypertension with its complications that might come. Think about pregnant women, who are trying to deliver, but they can't find any health center. Like I said before, the health centers we're having, most of them were functioning before this period. But because of the crisis that came, most of the health providers, they had to flee for their lives because some actually never returned.
Right. In terms of security and, of course, other issues surrounding community life, how is your village, the village which you're heading as the traditional leader today?
Guneku village is not very, very different from all the other villages around, but we're now in a situation where everybody has to, we have to deal with the situation the way it is, hoping that, we will all one day come, to know that, we have to sit somewhere, talk, and try to resolve maybe the security issues that are plaguing the whole place. Getting back to this health issue talking about, we've been struggling, to bring back health personnel, because like I said before, the five to six health centers that we're having, most of them did close down. So it has been a real problem trying to gather again some health personnel so that they could come and get and revive the whole thing again. But lately, we've been struggling with help from a lot of people, and the health center in Munam, we did succeed to bring in a registered nurse and hand it over to the chief of center, with the help of the DMO of Benue, who has been doing a great job. The Open Door Foundation is one other health center that has been training physician assistants and nurses and so on and so forth, but it got closed down for about 2 years, which means that, the reagents they had in their laboratories, they got bad, the medication that they had, they had expired, so taking it to start functioning again, you need to employ a group of people again to be taking care of that. You need to buy more medication. You need to buy new lab reagents. And I'm very, very proud that, since we did that, these people have been, doing a great job. They have been self-sufficient and doing everything for themselves. And then last but not, lastly, the last health center that actually started getting operational again was on the 3rd of January this year. That is the Fringeng Community Health Center. You can really see on that 3rd of January, when we opened the doors for the health center with authorization from the GMO of Mbengwe, more than 38 consultations were done with about 8 admissions. This is a situation where you see an area full of Muslim community and natives and so on, and you really see an area that actually needed a health center at its most.
That's simply an indication that the people have been suffering for quite a long time, probably since 2016, late 2016, when the crisis started, that came to worsen the situation. How have the people been struggling to access healthcare with the closure of some of those centers, as you indicated earlier?
Yeah, Mr. Babila, like I said before, most people have died in the villages, not directly from the crisis we're having, but because of the incapability of them getting into a health center. Women have struggled to deliver at home, and some of them have even died. People have died because of simple causes like malaria, like I said, or typhoid, just because of the inability to get basic health needs. But now with the situation that, we've actually brought some of these places to be functioning, the situation has improved.
The situation has improved. Tell us about this initiative which you and other persons putting together in view of upgrading healthcare services in the village. How much are you doing as far as solving the problem of access to healthcare is concerned?
Yeah, Mr. Babila, we partly solved the problem by reviving these health centers to be functioning again. But I will let you know that, if somebody is hungry, you can't just go to the hospital, get paracetamol, and and your problem is going to be solved. So while reviving these health centers, we actually some sort of raised other issues. The first issue is the issue of security. I'm sure you learned the social media of the abduction of the doctor of Achatui Hospital, just a few days ago. So the health personnel that we're working with, they need some security in one way or the other, which we can't really fully supply. And then secondly, the villagers who are living now in an area where there is almost no economical, nothing to do economically, they need to at least pay some small token for, to get the services of these health centers. Because without that, the health centers, the people working in the health centers, they themselves need a little bit of salary to survive. If they don't do that, then it's not going to be sustainable. So that made us, join hands with many other people to see what do we do now to create some little income generating activities to those in the villages. At this point now, we brought up ideas like training, I emphasize on training and providing interest-free loans to villagers so that they could get themselves involved in activities like fish farming, apiaries, piggeries, and a host of others. At this point now, I would really, what actually touched me here was when Professor Mbacham, the founder of Mbengwe, the founder of Chena, myself and His Royal Highness from Jindom, when they actually came together under the umbrella of Funds for Health, Education and Development, and we actually provided some funds and training again for the, for the disabled people around our community, taught them how to rear 2-week-old chicks, gave them some, feed for it, trained them how to do that, and just about 2 weeks ago, they started selling, real table birds, and at least it would make some little, make a little impact on themselves. So thank you very much again to those I've just mentioned. All this it is impossible to do all this alone. I've been struggling to get, different groups so that all what I've been saying, can actually function. Now again, I want to say special thank you again to my classmates from Silver College, Silver Jubilee class, for coming in, throwing some help in, so that the orphanage, the orphans in the House of Hope orphanage in Genbo, they could get some grinding meal, they could get some activities that could be helping them in future. Thank you very much to Budeka, this is my Village Development Association, those from the US, those from Douala, those from Europe, all over the world, for creating an extra modern library back in the village with about 15 computers inside, so that kids that have been suffering from education for quite some long time now, they could at least have some basic skills on computer. They provided themselves, they've also provided at least part of the salaries of the health providers that we did employ. And thanks again for Budeka EU for
what are some of the, His Royal Majesty, what are some of the major health problems of the people, and how badly are they affected, especially in a context where access to healthcare is not at the level of expectation, is not up to expectation?
We are just trying to make the best out of the situation we're having. Like I said, I won't even be talking about any complicated issues like prostate cancer or whatever thing and so on. We're just talking about simple malaria, typhoid, people with diabetes and and high blood pressure with the complications that can come out of it. These things that affect people from everywhere, but those in the hinterland, they are even more affected because they stay a little bit further away from, from the health institutions.
What will you ask the authorities to do in order to help the realization of these initiatives with regards to security? Earlier you said that it's difficult to ensure the security of the medics, the medical personnel who are coming to work in some of those health centers that you have rehabilitated and established for the people of Gonoko. What will you ask the authorities to do here?
I can tell you, Mr. Babila, like I said a few days ago, the doctor of Achatugi Hospital was kidnapped. From the information I have is, the local authorities on the ground, they are behind those who did this action. I know the doctor has been released, but the local authorities on the ground, they are really behind those who did the action. And I heard some of them have been actually captured, but I can't confirm that. But that's what I heard. I just hope that they're going to be helping to mobilize even the community a little bit more to be providing security. We know there is no 100% security, but we are in a situation where we just have to deal with the situation the way it is.
Now, how far do you intend to go with this? What do you expect from the people?
I expect, the people to get maybe the interest-free loans that, we've been giving thanks to many of these other groups we're talking about, to be revolving and trying to maybe make their living out of that, so that they won't only be thinking about how to cure themselves, but they could actually be thinking of how to generate even more income for many other issues. And like I said, the health centers, we're struggling to make it in such a way that it should be self-sustaining, so that we shouldn't be going around begging again for more money, so that we could get inside to pay the people and so on and so forth. Until now, that has been, some sort of a greater extent working.
His Royal Majesty Dr. Fumuki Walters, founder of Gonoko Village, medical expert based in Bonn, Germany. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much, Mr. Babylon.
Thanks, ladies and gentlemen, for staying with us. That's it for today.